Hello, hello, thanks for stopping by the channel. This is Cosmic Creeps for the Atari 2600, released by Telesys back in 1982. I have this game on cartridge, and although the label is aged, you can mostly make out the goofy imagery. Here's a better picture. According to this image, we're talking Muppet-looking enemies with googly eyes, and I suppose you're the smiling protagonist that's flying skyward, dragging a small child behind him. I'm not sure why kids are being exposed to the vacuum of space in this game, and for some reason it looks like you might have a dislocated shoulder and need medical attention. That's what I see anyway. So Telesys was a publisher in the early 80s that published a total of 6 different titles between 1982 and 83, and they just never really seemed to take off. I can't say this is an unwarranted circumstance because the video game market was flooded with garbage around this time, which was right before the crash. So we're talking, this was an era of a lot of games coming out, and not a lot of quality. Thinking back to that time, actually, trying to remember exactly how much stuff cost, I was just a little kid, a real little kid, but I seem to recall $25 to $30 being kinda normal for most of these games. And this was an era that was before you could actually buy and sell used video games in store, at least not to my recollection. I remember getting games like this at Sears, that was the go-to place. There were some computer stores around there, but most of those just focused on computers. That's what I remember anyway, but also, now that I think about it, I don't remember even seeing used games for sale until really a long time later. We're talking late 90s, maybe the PS2 era? Wow, that's back to Electronics Boutique. Maybe there was a lost market in the early 80s that just never popped up. I reviewed another Telesys game on the channel some time back. It was a game called Coconuts, and that was one of the first games on the channel that really upset me when I reviewed it. Seriously, that was a pretty bad game. I'll have to say, though, Cosmic Creeps is a little better than the Coconuts outing, but there's still a lot of basic stuff going on. I know I just said basic while talking about the Atari 2600. I know the system is basic by its very nature, but this one still feels, well, it just feels basic in this regard. Like many Atari 2600 games, Cosmic Creeps is a one-screen type of affair that tries to divide itself into 2 minigames. Sort of. I'm almost not comfortable calling these minigames, but I do feel myself leaning towards that description just a little bit. Like many Atari 2600 games, there is a story in the manual. It's really basic, but it's there. I think in a lot of cases this was sort of the hook that they tried to use with Atari games to get people playing. This is what was supposed to fill in people's imaginations beyond the really rudimentary graphics and gameplay. In Cosmic Creeps, you play an Orbinaut, and are tasked with saving the Cosmic Kids from the Cosmic Creeps and the Space Skeeters. Space Skeeters didn't make it into the title of this game, but they are definitely in the manual as being one of the enemies. My recollection of the 80s was that there was a bunch of embarrassing names for monsters or heroes, names that just didn't stand up over time. Everyone wanted a cool name, or at least some alliteration, I suppose. In that respect, I guess Cosmic Creeps delivers. But we have 2 portions of the game. We have the Voyage portion, which is you just traveling up to the top of the screen, trying to get into a spaceship. And then there's the Rescue portion, which is you trying to rescue these kids in space. For the first section, you just press up on the joystick and your character will appear at the bottom of the screen. Your job is to make it to the top of the screen and get to that spaceship without being touched by anything else. The fire button doesn't do anything for this section, you just dodge all this boring stuff on screen. I guess the first part in this regard is like Frogger, just avoid running into stuff and try to make it to the top. If you can do this, which is probably the easier part of the game, you get to control the spaceship, and now the gameplay shifts and you're in the second section. This is basically the second minigame, and it's kinda like a reverse Space Invaders. Immediately, on this section, 3 avatars are going to race onto the screen, and they're going to track from one end of the screen to the next, moving back and forth. Every time they hit a corner, they're going to go to a higher level and get closer to you. When you start this section, 3 different avatars appear on the screen, and they start racing across, trying to get closer to you at the top. Okay, this is actually a Cosmic Kid in the front, and then right behind them are the Cosmic Creeps. Your job is to shoot the creeps, and try to not hit the Cosmic Kid. Personally, I kill everything. I'm just terrible at this. and I continue to murder these poor children that are seeking safety. It is just not that easy to keep them alive. If the cosmic creeps get to the top, you lose. So shooting the creeps and rescuing the cosmic kids, this is what gets you points. That's pretty much all we're going to be dealing with here. At the bottom of the screen, there is the outline of a planet, like the top curvature of a planet. This is probably the one clever thing in this game that I really like. This is your timer. It slowly drops out of view as you progress. When it's completely gone, the game is over, so this is you racing against the timer. As far as handling goes, it's a little stiff. Your avatar is large and clunky. The ship doesn't move fast enough for my liking. There really only seem to be two speeds here in the movement of the avatars, whether it's you or the enemy. There's sort of a standard movement speed, and then there's fast. You're always going to be at standard, and this means if you're shooting and missing a cosmic creep that's traveling at the same speed, you can't race ahead of it to try to take another shot. You have to wait till it gets to the end of the screen, and then switches levels to go back in the opposite direction. I just wish you could travel a little bit faster than the standard enemies. I also wish you could shoot more than one projectile at a time. You have to wait till your shot completely vanishes before you can take another. The planet timer, it's always moving at the same speed. It would be nice if you could get more time added to it, but that doesn't seem to be in the cards for us. Also, this red they use to create the top and bottom of the playing field with the little red lines in the middle, they kind of flicker back and forth, and it almost makes it look like there's a problem with the television, like it's glitching in and out. But this is the Atari 2600, so this isn't completely unexpected. Well, that's all I have today for Cosmic Creeps for the Atari 2600. If this is your type of video, please feel free to like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and thanks for stopping by to take a look. Hope to catch you on another video.